probably what they are.
So what sort of stuff is it that you say, like, oh, you bought different things for the horses when, like, they were ponies, and, like, what is the sort of financial thing? And these are personal silly questions.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
There's a lot of people that are going to listen to this that are going to have done like you years in horse industry, and they're going to be like, what are you on about? This is just the basics. For me, I don't understand. I can see that it is not a cheap hobby or career. So like, how's that affected you? Because that's not an easy thing.
I was very, very lucky. My mum and dad, especially, so I was 13, 14, you're just doing it for fun. Like, my brother was probably riding a little bit back then. Right. And at that age, it was nothing really serious. But then when I started dedicating myself to doing dressage when I was like 14 years old, then you're talking, it's a lot of money for your parents to have to invest in you. I'm talking my lessons that you need at that age, because that's the time that you're developing your riding, especially at that young age. It's fundamental to you being the best that you can be. Like everyone says, when you're a child, it's easier to learn. And of course, it's the same rule applies in the equestrian world too. So, but like, you're talking lessons, maybe I have 3 or 4 a week, and each lesson's 50, 60 pounds. And that's just me for my training, not looking after the horse, not having the feet done, not having like feed. The list goes on. It's endless. It's absolutely endless. And it's just so expensive for you to run. And that's just one pony, let alone if you have 2.
Wow.
So I was very, very, very fortunate that my mum and dad saw that I wanted to do it and backed me with everything that they could financially afford to do. Like, don't get me wrong, because of that, like, it's very, especially with a non-horsey brother, like, they're spending a lot of money on me, because that's how can they then say to my brother, well,
you can't do this.
Here's a pair of football boots, but that football boot's £120. How many pair of football boots can he get? How many footballs can he get? It doesn't add up. Like, his pair of football boots is 2 lessons that I have within a week.
Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult. So of course I missed out on other things that a lot of people did, because I wouldn't get them brand new clothes and all those little bits and bobs, because I was my full focus at that age was I dedicated myself to doing dressage, and that is what I wanted to do. Yeah. And I saw nothing else. I was at school till I was just to get through school. I was there for no other reason than just to get through school. I didn't want to be there. Just kept my head down and just did what was necessary. Yeah, got through it, and then as soon as I could, I left school and started working with horses.
Because you're on the yard pretty much. Like, every time I get a call from you, it's like 6:30 in the morning. And I mean, I'm up early, but you are up early. Like, it's a demanding thing.
Of course.
Like,
I think the best way to describe it is, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Having horses, it is a lifestyle. Everything revolves around your horse. If there's a problem with the horse, you're there to sort it out. Especially now. Now it's my job. I have owners. I have half a share in a little yearling that's owned with one of my owners.
A yearling?
Yeah, so a 1-year-old.
Yearling. Oh, right,
yeah,
okay.
Yearling.
Right.
So he's 1 year old. So I have half a share in that. But other than that, all the horses on my yard are paying customers. They're clients of mine. So those horses, they have to be looked after to a top level.
Yeah.
Like, I still have aims with my competition career to reach international standards.
Yeah.
If my yard isn't producing international standards, I will never reach international standards with my riding.
No,
it's
exactly.
the way it goes. You have to. Yeah.
So are you pro now? Like, you're
professional.
So we classed as pro. Like,
exactly. Yeah, like, your class is professional. So you don't have like amateur. You have amateur riders and professional. It's not like semi-pro. It's professional rider.
Right.
So I would have theoretically, I was a professional rider from 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And that's when you're competing. Like, I've been lucky. I've been able to compete against Charlotte Dujardin, which is the #1 dressage rider, and Carl Hester, who's probably the legend of the sport. I've had the opportunity to compete against people like that.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, very lucky, but I can sit here and say my career never really took off as well as I wanted it to, and maybe I didn't reach the potential that I should have either. But that's a big can of worms.
There's one bit I'm curious to go back on.
Yep.
You said that your mum and dad they did a lot financially.
Yep.
Like, they grafted just so you could have the opportunity to be in the horse world.
Of course.
Now, we're not all lucky to come from amazing backgrounds, and we've had to work for it, and there's nothing wrong if you do come from a background where you're lucky enough to have parents that can just straight up provide in that sense. But I'm curious, is there a level with the money behind it and the career,
Yep.
like if you don't have the money, it's so difficult to go pro. Like if your mum and dad weren't in a position to work as hard as they have done and still do to help you go pro, is it going to be detrimental for other people getting into that industry?
I guess that's like a very difficult question to answer because like even for me personally, my parents gave me everything and I was a very, very small fish in a massive pond. Like back when my pony cost, I think like £2,000 as a project pony. He was competing against ponies that were bought for £250,000.
Yeah.
Like we're talking, there's a massive gap there. Of course, I think in the beginning, yes, definitely. But there's no reason, for example, my pony cost £2,000. Like in the context of horses, that's very cheap. And for what he then went on to do, he done very well for that. He was competing against ponies that bought for thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of money. So I think money is very, very important, but it's like anything. If you work hard enough, opportunities will come your way. It's just a different route in to the sport. You might have to go off and work as a groom. I worked as a groom when I left school for Sharon Edwards.
So what does siding? What a groom? What does a groom?
Like just looking after horses.
Just looking after.
Yeah, so I literally no riding, just looking after horses, and then I had my horse in livery there at the same time, which a lot of people do. So you're predominantly working for your lessons, almost is what I did, and then from that, my next stepping stone was becoming a rider at a yard, and then I was lucky enough to go to a top international yard at Sarah Millis's, and basically do my university degree there. That's how I looked at it. It was my introduction into the sport, was going to a place of that standard was eye-opening, changed the way I looked at everything. So it can happen. Like me working as a groom, my mum and dad didn't buy that for me. They didn't put money into that. I had to work there. I did that myself.
Yeah.
I earned the lesson.
You put the hours in.
Yeah, I put the hours in. I got out what I put in that moment. And then again, from that, I then ended up picking up little bits of riding. So I was working at Sharon's, and then I got bits of riding here, there and everywhere. So like a couple little clients, and you know, charge like £10-15. But it was enough to pay for my fuel and me just to get more exposure, ride more horses, because it's no different to any other sport. The more practice you get, the better you're going to be. The more I could ride, the better I was going to be. And then from that, it gave me quite a good fundamental base. I was then doing quite well on the competition side of things. That then led me to have a good enough CV to then apply for a job of that standard. So you can do it. There's no reason why you can't, but it's very hard.